Hi, everyone. Happy Thursday to you. It's region weather meteorologist Matt Wintz back again. We've got another update tonight in terms of this winter storm, at least potentially, that's going to arrive in Northwest Indiana tonight. And especially tomorrow is when we're really going to start to see the influence of this. Tomorrow morning is when we'll see those impacts come in. But we get under the influence of this tonight with our wind direction, and the clouds will start to move in as well. So it is approaching, and it is hitting areas of Texas hard right now. It stretches down towards Oklahoma. They've got lots of severe weather and flooding concerns for portions of the southern plains. All this moisture that's developing tonight as this low pressure hits that Gulf of Mexico moisture, all the moisture is coming together, and that's what gets slung up our way tomorrow. And with temperature profiles that are dropping in the atmosphere tomorrow, there is that expectation that we have some heavy rain that changes over to a heavy wet snow. I've got the latest model runs. If you saw earlier, I posted all the different model runs, the 12Z runs that came in this afternoon. Obviously, I had broadcast this afternoon to take care of, so I didn't have a lot of time to formulate this huge forecast package for you guys, but I wanted you to have that model data. And again, you probably, if you went over it, saw that it's still kind of up in the air whether or not we get really, really heavy snow that causes all sorts of impacts around here or not. And that continues to be the case this evening. I'll sort out the details. I've got my forecast because, I mean, we're sitting here 8 hours away from this event, 12 to 8 hours away, and the models are still all over the place because of one factor, and it's super tricky. Don't think that this is something where, like, why are we relying on models? Well, the models tell us a lot about all the layers in the atmosphere, and there's one layer of the atmosphere that's thrown a wrench in all this. So we'll explain that after we run our opening intro here on this special edition of Thursday evening Region Weather Live. All right, and as always, we want to thank all of our sponsors. They keep the show free every single day that we do it, which is always on Sunday nights, but we also do these special editions, and we break in live, obviously, during severe weather. You guys know that if you've been around long enough. For those that haven't been around region weather, hello, my name is Matt. I am a meteorologist. We've been doing region weather for almost 10 years now in Northwest Indiana because Chicago just doesn't give Northwest Indiana credit when it comes to weather, and we deserve it because we get a lot more things like lake effect snow and severe weather and this big mess that's coming tomorrow. So let's dive into it. Guys, if you get a chance, support our sponsors. You'll see them there on the side of the screen during this entire broadcast, okay? Here's our system right now. The moisture just now coming together with this. There's a line of severe thunderstorms that's been tornadic at times, went through Dallas earlier, Fort Worth earlier as well, heading towards the Austin area now. You notice some of these severe storms getting up in areas of Arkansas. This line is producing severe damaging winds. Out ahead of it, you get these supercells that are heading in a totally different direction that have had some spin with the tornado threat as well. For us, our concern is all this moisture. All right, it's starting to gather. You see how things have really started to come together on the northern end of this. This is a flood threat for areas of Arkansas up through central Illinois. But for us, all this rain comes in, and yeah, there's a flood threat from some of the heavy rain in Indiana. But our main concern is when and how much of this turns over to heavy wet snow, because we are within a degree in the mid levels of the atmosphere of this either being an all rain event or some rain, some snow, which is what it looks like right now. So let's get into the modeling. I'll explain what the models are kind of going through, and then I'll give you obviously my forecast as we get into this. Here's a couple just disclaimers on the front end of this. I've been a meteorologist for 15 years, forecasting either for the region or some kind of Great Lake. And I have not seen a storm that's had this much model discrepancy 12 hours out from the event. And I've been racking my brain. I mean, we can all look at the same models all day and come up with a forecast. We can say, oh, the Euro is saying 15 inches. We might get 15 inches. Oh, the Canadian model is saying 2 inches. Oh, we might get 2 inches. Like, where's the forecast in that, right? That is what this is coming down to, where this is either going to be a big event tomorrow or it's not going to be such a big event tomorrow, or it's going to be kind of the in-between, right? And the reason why, and the thing that, that I'm trying to figure out, why are the models so far off right now? And it goes back to what we talked about last night on the Region Weather Live. There's this process in the atmosphere called evaporative cooling. All right. It doesn't always happen with storm systems, but with this one, that's what's going to happen. We've got rain coming in, we've got dry air in place. Those are your two key components to that. As the rain moves in, and I explained this yesterday, so I'll keep this brief. We've got dry air. It's not just here at the surface that matters. All right. We're going to start probably 35, 36 degrees tomorrow morning. And you're going to say, Matt, how are we going to get snow out of this? Right. Because we're above freezing, and you can get snow when it's above freezing. And the reason why is because you're not just talking here at the surface of temperatures. We have to go all the way up into the atmosphere, up to cloud level, like 20, 30,000 feet is where we're going up to in terms of forecasting temperatures. So we have dry air in place now. You wouldn't know it, but it's dry outside, and we've got dry air up at the cloud levels right now. And as this rain pushes in from the south, that rain starts falling from the clouds, okay? It's not going to reach the ground initially. When you first see those radar returns coming in, it's going to be evaporating up above us, all right? And this is a complex process, but it's complex to forecast because what's going to happen is our temperature is going to start 35, 36 degrees tomorrow morning. The rain's going to fall into the dry air and evaporate. And remember what we talked about, evaporation is a cooling process. Same way that in the summertime, when you sweat, right? You sweat and that sweat evaporates, which helps cool your skin down. Same thing in the atmosphere. We'll have rain that's falling and it's going to cool the atmosphere as it evaporates. So our temperature will probably go from like 35, 36 in the morning. Our rain will start anywhere between 9, 10, 11 o'clock in the morning. And that rain will be falling into drier air, evaporating. Eventually, will saturate that column. It'll come all the way down to the ground. But that cooling process is taking place. At the same time, this low, as it's coming up, is pulling in colder air from the north. So all that is going to make our temperature go from a 35, 36 down to a 34, 33, probably a 32 at some point. We may end up with 33 and 34 all day. But either way, that's just a couple degree difference, which we're trying to forecast, that's coming down in terms of temperature wise, that's going to eventually, or the thought is, change this rain over to a heavy wet snow. All right. I don't think it's going to happen cleanly. I think some of us are going to see a real sloppy changeover where it's rain and then all of a sudden you get these big gloppy white flakes mixing in. I think other places are going to stay rain for longer. Other places are going to have snow in spots. This isn't going to be an even uniform snowfall. And that's what we're talking about. And I've been in discussion with the Weather Service as well. They still have a winter storm watch because it's just too early to call on this. It's going to be more of a nowcasting thing where it's like, oh, we changed over to heavy wet snow in Whiting, or we changed over in Maryville. Valpo's still rain right now. And it's going to be real interesting tomorrow. In all my years of forecasting, I haven't seen anything like this that comes down to a single degree, and we're waiting for some scientific process to take place that changes rain to snow. All right. It's not like other storms. So I hope you can forgive meteorologists for, the fact that we really don't know what's going to happen with this tomorrow. And again, I'll dive into everything. I hope you can forgive us for that, but I do want you to understand, and I know most of you do understand because we talk about the processes and the science behind this all the time. But I want you to understand that there is a high level of complexity to this event that doesn't come with normal storms, because we're trying to forecast every level of the atmosphere to the degree, and those all matter. If we get one off, everything's off, okay? So that's kind of what we're walking into tonight, all right? So let's take you through the model guidance now. This is the very latest HRRR run. And I've mentioned how I always have liked the HRRR in terms of storm forecasting. There's certain things it picks up on, there's certain things it doesn't. But I think for winter storms, I think it does a good job. So here comes our low tomorrow morning. It's going to be windy. The wind will be increasing as we go throughout the morning. And then eventually what we're going to do is start cranking out some rain with this bad boy. So we're going to start as rain. Area wide, I think this is a good bet that we start as rain. Temperatures, again, marginally above freezing. And that rain will move in probably our southern counties. My best guess is like 8, 9, 10 o'clock in Newton and Jasper County. So most of this is moving in after the morning rush hour, and then it'll spread north. Remember, we've got to get through that dry air, so it's going to take a little bit of time to get up in our northern counties. I think we've got the rain up into areas like Lakeport and LaPorte counties, Stark County as well. We should start to have rain by 10, 11 o'clock in the morning, maybe 9, 10, 11, somewhere in that time frame. Okay, so that's when everything starts. So notice what happens. It's all rain. Here you go. And then the HRRR starts to change some of that rain over to wet snowflakes. All right. As we go throughout the midday and afternoon hours, it starts to change more of that rain over to wet snowflakes. The thing to keep in mind with this is that when we get that changeover, this is going to be a real decent shot of moisture coming in here. So as soon as we get that changeover, that snow's going to come down heavy. Okay. And that's what also makes this complex, is that we're not just going from light rain to light snow. We're going from like gross rain, heavy rain, wind, to potentially heavy snow at times. And that makes a big difference, because where we change over to snow, it's going to pile up in a hurry, and it's going to be wet snow. And even though our surface temperatures are probably going to be above freezing by a degree or two, it's going to add up pretty quickly as well. We talk about snow ratios. That's something else we have to forecast in this. Typical snow ratios, usually 10 to 1 or 12 to 1, 13 to 1, somewhere in there. Meaning if you get 10 inches of snow, you melt that down, that equals 1 inch of rain. That's the ratio we're talking about. In this case tomorrow, we're probably going to be in the order of 6 to 1, 7 to 1, which is incredible, meaning you only need 6 inches of snow instead of 10 to melt it down to an inch of liquid. Bottom line, this is going to be a very heavy, wet snow. It's going to plaster things. So power lines, power poles, trees, all that stuff. It's going to be picturesque, but at the same time, it's going to be adding a lot of weight to things as well. On top of that, we've got gusty winds, 30 to 40. We talked about that last night. So really interesting in terms of how this points out, and when this changes over, it's going to kind of mean a lot of different things when you have that rain changing over to snow, and it'll change things up in a hurry. So as we go through time, the HRRR says that we all change over to a heavy, wet snow with a very strong northeast wind blowing in here by tomorrow afternoon into the evening. Notice how it pulls out pretty quickly. So by tomorrow late afternoon into the evening, we're clearing things out. It's like nothing happened tomorrow night. The wind will start to ease. The snow will melt this weekend. It's out of here. But this is the time, obviously, tomorrow afternoon, tomorrow midday, tomorrow evening, that we're going to have this potentially impactful weather around here, right? Okay, so that's the HRRR run. I was going to just show you that. Let me just show you the latest NAM nest. Actually, this is just coming in now, so let's look at this together. You can see it's incomplete. This one is the NAM nest, and you notice it has the rain moving in, changing to wet snow in spots. It does not have a complete changeover until afternoon. And then you can see there it is as the system's departing. All right. I kind of like this idea better. I'll show you the idea that I do like better, which would really limit some of those huge snowfall totals coming in. I'm not sure if I buy that at this point. We'll show you some of the totals. We'll dive into that here in a second. Okay, so that's the system as it moves out. That's the latest NAM nest. Let's go to our global models, because these still do offer some pretty good guidance. This is the model I kind of like the most. And I've never said this before, but I'm going to say it. It's actually the Canadian model. It's an outlier in this point. The Euro's still painting real good snow over us. The American model's still painting really good snow over us with that changeover. But this is the Canadian model. And as that low goes by to our south, you notice how it stays rain for longer before we change over to snow, kind of as the system's exiting. I like a blend of this in that we don't get a lot of snow. I like a blend of that and the one I showed you with the HRRR, which shows some pretty decent snow, but not huge totals. Let's go back real quick, because I forgot to show you. I do want to show you the snowfall totals that the latest HRRR, this is just out over the last hour, that this one's putting out. So you can see everything kind of out towards the east. Let me get in here a little bit more. Here we go. So this is the latest HRRR run, and you notice, it's still putting out close to a foot in spots. Most of us falling in a 4 to 8 inch range. And look at the cutoff. I mean, the HRRR has, Whiting and Gary in the 2 to 4 inch range. Meanwhile, you head east, Valparaiso, it's got around 10. Areas of LaPorte County has around 14. So you see what I mean in terms of not just error of when this changes over, but error in terms of where that heavy snowfall lines up. There's going to be a very sharp cutoff line between no snow and a lot of snow with this. So that's also what makes this tricky in terms of forecasting. But anyway, so let's go back to the other models here. So I showed you the GEM, and that has most of the snow kind of moving out after it changes over. The Euro, which tends to be pretty darn accurate with these. This one, I'm going to zoom in for you as well on this one so we can see it a little bit better. The Euro has that rain coming in, changing to snow earlier than the other models, and that has a real band of heavy snow on us. Which I could certainly see. I mean, we talked about that frontogenetic band last night. I could see the heavy wet snow, but I could also see thunder snow out of this. There's going to be just tremendous amounts of lift where this band sets up, and all indication that it is over Northwest Indiana. The question in my mind, looking at these models, is when do we change over? Do we hold that rain just 2 or 3 hours longer? Do we get a break in the action just a little bit? All the models always show this pure area of precip moving in. They don't account for dry air moving in. So do we get a 1 or 2 hour break? All of these things are going to significantly limit our snowfall totals. And I feel like there's more things working against us getting a foot of snow than there are us working towards a foot of snow. So that's that. So the Euro, you can see it has that snow moving out, and then, it's out of here. In terms of snowfall numbers, the Euro is still spitting out a lot of snow. It's got a good, there's your numbering there. It's got a good, 3 to 6 in Lake County. You get in southern and central Lake County and the Porter LaPorte counties, it's got a good 4 to 10. And you see some of the numbers up near a foot there. What I would lean in terms of, and then, Newton Jasper County, no slack either. It's got a good 3 to 6, maybe 8 inches there. GFS here, this is the latest GFS run. Notice that's gotten a little bit further south as well. If these models go 10 miles south, it changes that band, especially that narrow band. So it now looks like on the GFS that Lake County is going to get less. As you get up towards Gary, Whiting, Hammond, you get higher amounts as you head into southern Lake County. It's got 10 around Valpo, around 12 in areas of Stark County. And then the gem, I'm not leaning this dramatic, but this is certainly an opportunity still where it has no snow on us, because it has a staying rain with just some snow in the end. So there's a huge margin for error on this. Where I would lean with this, again, I told you I'm kind of leaning gem on this in terms of that real heavy, these heavy 6 to 12 inch totals. I can't say I'm not seeing it, because I see it, because most models are saying it. But I kind of feel like we're going to have more things working against us with this. So here's my forecast, and I wrote it down. And this is, I did a lot of digging with this. So rain moves into Newton and Jasper County 8, 9, 10 o'clock. Rain will move in our northern counties like Porter, Stark, LaPorte, probably 9, 10, 11 o'clock in the morning. All right, it's going to start as rain. Morning rush hour is fine. By noon, I would say noon to 2 o'clock. That's my window where I think that we're going to start to change some of this rain over to gloppy wet snow. So things are going to go downhill quickly where it does change over for that lunchtime on through early afternoon. I do think there's going to be some kind of dry air intrusion with this. Is that 3, 4, 5 o'clock, somewhere in there where the precip just lightens up a little bit? I think that's certainly possible. Is it a game changer? I don't think so. And then I think from 3 to 6 o'clock tomorrow afternoon into the evening, I think that's when the majority of us are wet snow. And it'll be coming down good. We'll have very strong wind around as well. And then things start to clear out. In terms of snowfall totals, it's not going to be the same number for everyone. And I'm going to be completely honest with you. I can't say that Lake County is going to get 4 to 8 inches. I think the potential's there, and I like the 4 to 8 inch range. Again, I know models are going 12. I don't know what the Weather Service is going. I haven't checked them since this morning. But I think the 4 to 8 inch range is good, with a large room for error. Honestly, I know it's a meme out there that says 0 to 15 inches. We're good, and a lot of people say, what a great job you have, where you can say 0 to 15 inches and it's fine. If I could go 1 to 8, I would, because I really think some places are going to end up with not much snow at all. But for all of Northwest Indiana, I think we stand a good chance at 4 to 8 out of this. I really do. I think that 1, 2 inch range is going to fall just outside the region. That's just what I'm leaning right now. But again, there's a lot of things working against us in terms of the fact it's March now. We've got a strong sun angle. The models might not be grasping that completely, that we'd stay rain a little bit longer. A lot of models think we should have snow cover on the ground by now. We don't. We know how this winter's gone. So those things in my mind as a meteorologist are kind of working against this event at being a huge snow. The other thing is, all these storm systems that we have come in, they tend to flop. And we tend to not get big events around here. The difference with this is the fact that we're 12 hours out now. The models are still showing it, and this process is likely going to take place where we do change over to heavy wet snow. So I don't think this storm misses in terms of that, like other storms have. So again, potential's there for up to a foot of heavy wet snow. That would be very impactful for that evening rush hour tomorrow afternoon as well. Do I think we get there? I'm leaning no. But do we have an impactful snow still with 4 to 8 inches across the region of heavy wet snow? I am leaning that, and that would still be just as impactful as a foot, really. And again, visibility is going to be low with this when the snow's falling. We're going to have lots of wind with it. There's going to be high moisture content. So this is going to get rough tomorrow afternoon, tomorrow evening. But how rough does it get? I think that's the big question. Because in the back of my mind, I keep seeing that Canadian model that has no snow on it. It has it staying all rain until the very end. And that's certainly a possibility as well. And what's interesting is the National Weather Service will tell you the same thing. I was reading through their stuff this morning, and they're really pitching the high degree of uncertainty with this. And I think most people understand. I think 90% of you understand. There's a lot of trolls out there as well that like to whatever. But I don't think they understand the complexity of this. And I would love more than anything to give you a forecast saying, hey, the snow will start here. It's going to change over here. Maryville, you'll get 4 inches. Valpo, you'll get 8, But I honestly can't do that accuracy-wise tonight. So we're all going to be in this together tomorrow. We'll obviously be doing a lot of nowcasting as the system goes around. So in recap, morning rush hour looks just fine. It'll start as rain for everybody. Temperatures will likely start 35, 36 degrees. And then as that rain's falling, remember the process that we taught you tonight with the evaporative cooling. We'll have rain falling. You can say, oh, why is it rain outside? Nope, we're doing stuff in the upper atmosphere. It's cooling things down. You'll notice on your car thermometer, house thermometer, whatever it is, you'll notice that temperature start to slide back as we go throughout. Once it starts raining, you'll notice that temp will start to slide. And at that point, that's when we'll start to mix in with some gloppy wet snowflakes at some point. And then after that, do we change over to all heavy wet snow? That's kind of in question. So we'll have that. And I appreciate all the thank yous coming in as well. Guys, go ahead and ask your questions. This is what we always do at the end of our broadcast. Feel free to ask any questions you've got. I'd be happy to answer those for you, okay? I like your comment, Chris. That's great. Let's see. Heather asked a good question to start here. Hi, Matt. Do these model snow totals reflect system snow totals only, or do they include lake effect as well? That's a wonderful question, Heather. So in terms of the lake effect with this, I don't see a lot of lake effect. There's just really not enough time, and the air's not cold enough. There might be a little bit of lake enhancement, but to answer your question directly, because I know we're going to have a lot of questions on here, these do include any lake effect or lake enhancement. There's not going to be much of that. This is pretty much just going to be system snow from this. The air is just not cold enough coming in to produce any lake effect. There might be a little lake enhancement, but that's about it. Janet, you're welcome. Thank you very much. Christopher, sad to see so many rude people here tonight. That's okay. We have guests tonight, Chris, and that's okay. Again, I'm used to it. It doesn't. The folks that are rude, they really don't bother me. They don't. I mean, I'm just as much a viewer. I enjoy watching the weather just as much as anyone else. And if my one job is to tell you how much it's going to snow tomorrow, and I can't tell you that, like, shame on us, right? But this happens sometimes, and I'm going to be completely transparent about it. And I think that's the thing that I strive to do here is be completely honest with you. I show you the models. I mean, a lot of meteorologists don't go through all these models. I show you what I'm looking at and try to formulate a forecast stuff. And I know a lot of you appreciate that because you're getting kind of an inside look at it, and we can all kind of discuss it together. Stephanie, I think so. Yeah, good question. So change over to snow about 12 to 2. That's kind of what I came up with. We'll start to mix with that snow at times. Again, spots, it's not going to be even everywhere. Some spots are going to have, that changeover sooner. Some spots aren't. And it's not a north-south thing. It's just a matter of what the atmosphere is doing right up above you in that section. Christina, I do. She says, do you think this will affect air travel tomorrow evening in Chicago? I do. It does look like with most of the modeling that the bulk of the snow, the heavier stuff is going to be centered over Northwest Indiana. So Chicago Midway is going to be more impacted, I think, than O'Hare. But I think all around the wind is going to be a big impact to O'Hare and Midway as well. Real gusty wind out of the northeast, eventually coming north and northwest. And that's going to cause some problems as well. But you look at the strip of snow, I mean, there's not a big chunk of the country that's going to be dealing with this. I mean, this is really bullseyed from us up to Michigan. So aren't we special? I'd rather have this than the severe weather down south. It is nasty down there. Yeah, Maxwell brings up a good point. Quite the pattern change after the storm and cold. It's amazing. Can I show you guys the pattern change real quick? Again, we usually do this on Sundays where we look, 10, 15 days out. Let me show this to you though, because it's real interesting. And I showed this on the TV side of things tonight. I was track. I'll just do it for you. Let's just look at this. Don't sleep on snow chances. I guess I'll start by saying that. Let's go to the models. Bear with me for just a second here. Okay, and I'm going to go back to the 12Z, and I'm going to go big picture. Okay, I'm such a big picture thinker, and we're going to look at big picture. So we're going to go North America. How about this? Okay, check this out. All right. So right now, Maxwell was bringing up the fact that there's a pattern change next week. And I'll preface it by saying this pattern that we've been in over the last 4 weeks has been the same, where storm comes into California and it comes up from the south, down from Texas. That's what's kept us mild, right? We've shut off Canadian air. There's no chance of even Canadian cold air coming in. We haven't had a lot of snow. And that's been the pattern for much of the winter. What's going to happen next week, by all indication, is that they're finally going to get a ridge out west. So they're going to get a break from storms. Whenever it ridges out west, we tend to have a trough out east, which means we open it up to Canadian air. But this is what I showed on air. Look at the system right now that's off the coast of Cape Cod. It's out towards Maine, all right, creating some snow for them. Watch this as we go through time, all right? This low goes up. Oh, let me do a different view. Hold on. Does this one show? This one might be better. Okay, so here it is right here, okay? That low goes out. It connects with a bigger low out here, just off the screen. It starts retrograding and coming back towards the west. And you see that area of snow right here? Look at this. It's all coming at us. This is next Sunday and a Monday. Tuesday, it's here. Same area of energy. It's off the East Coast right now. By Wednesday, it's here. And it starts to meet up with this low pressure here. And all of that comes back at us next Thursday, Friday. I think that's incredible. I mean, everything's just connected anyway. But to connect the system that's currently off the East Coast coming back at us, and we get the same moisture, same energy from that 10, 15 days from now, that's amazing. And so the pattern change he was alluding to, there's a frontal boundary. It's going to go by next Monday, Tuesday. All right. This is going to allow colder air to kind of come into the U.S. for the first time in a while because we've shut off that Western system, the Pareto system we've got coming in. So that cold air comes in next Tuesday, Wednesday, and it just sets the stage for storm systems that go by, and we're firmly in the snowy side of things. And as of right now, the Euro is showing multiple days of snow showers. There's going to be a blocking pattern that sets up off towards the north with warm air up here where my mouse cursor is. And so this cold lobe comes south and gets stuck in the eastern U.S. for multiple days. And you can see the Euro has good snow on us next Thursday, snow showers and lake effect Friday, snow showers Saturday, snow showers Sunday. Again, this could change, but the pattern usually doesn't change. I do think we turn colder next week. And, this kind of stuff happens. I feel like, and we've talked about this before, I just feel like winter hits later. All right. And we haven't had a hit of winter yet. I mean, Christmas was cold, albeit. But March and April just drag on with cold. And it's after we get this tease and our flowers are coming up and we're ready to dig into the dirt. And then March hits and it's like March says, hey, I'm not going to warm up at all for you. And I kind of feel like we're heading in that direction right now. So there's that. Okay. Let me get back to your questions. This is a good one. Elizabeth says, this is from a random 11-year-old kid. I just want to know how much snow we're going to have. Random 11-year-old kids, and hello, thank you for joining us. And 40, 50-year-old adults are all the same. We all want to know how much snow we're going to have. So tell your 11-year-old, or if they're listening, there's a really cool process that's going to take place tomorrow in the atmosphere, where you're going to start as rain, and you're going to look outside and see that it's raining, and you're going to say, "Where's my snow?" And we're going to cool the atmosphere down, as we've talked about. And that temperature is going to come down, and you're going to see the process take place where that rain starts to mix with wet snowflakes as the temperatures come down at all levels. And so eventually, hopefully, we'll turn it all snow for you. I would say right now, I want to say 4 to 8 to make it a tight range. Realistically, I would say 2 to 8. The potential's there for some good wet snow. And tell your 11-year-old that this is going to be good snowman making snow as well. All right, good snow fort. If we can get enough of this stuff, you can make a fort out of it. If not, it's just going to be a snowman. But that's that. So we'll go 4 to 8 right now, and that's for everybody. But again, that could change as we've talked about. Okay. Judy, you're welcome. I appreciate that as well. Okay, Adrian asked a good question. Will icing be a big concern with a sudden change of snow? Combo of ice and wind could get interesting. There's not a huge temperature drop, Adrian, with this, so I'm not too concerned about that. But what is going to happen, where our ice is going to come from, is the fact that once the snow starts to accumulate, it's going to add up quickly, and that is going to create kind of the slushy, icy surfaces, right? Where initially, everything's kind of wet on the ground, and then we get that wet snow, and then cars start to kind of slide around on it, and it creates that movable, slushy snow, which is just a mess. And I've gotten several Facebook messages on Region Weather tonight. I had one yesterday as well, asking, hey, should we cancel our plans on Friday? Should schools cancel? And that is a really tough call. I would say, due to the lack of snow days that we've had, I would probably go ahead and say yes, but just prepare. Worst case scenario, or best case in this point, would be, things are canceled tomorrow because the potential's there, and then we end up with no snow. I really could see that happening, and I'm not saying it's going to happen. I just want you to know that's an option, that we don't get much snow out of this. That is completely an option tomorrow. 80% of the models and 80% of the guidance is saying that we do get something out of this, and it's going to be impactful, but there's still a chance. And if any of you are into to March Madness and college basketball, you know how often, everything looks like this team's going to win, like Houston tonight almost blew it, but then they ended up blowing them out of the way. It's very comparable to March Madness, all right? The odds are in the favor that we're going to get a heavy wet snow tomorrow, but there's still a chance that underdog, which is the GEM model, could come true, okay? Debbie, not much of a storm next Wednesday. We will have a storm. Again, we showed it there. It does look like, we'll have some snow with it. That's going to be the pattern change storm, though. So I think we do get some snow with that, but doesn't look to be like this one. This one's much different. Wendy asked a good question. My daughter is driving home from Panama Beach to Ann Arbor, Michigan on Saturday. How does it look for her? It looks just fine. It really does. I think down by Panama Beach, she'll probably be encountering some thunderstorms as the system, is moving through there. But I think that's more so tomorrow. So she'll be fine all the way up. This whole system's going to be flying away from her. So that's some good news. She may be driving into some snow cover in Ann Arbor for sure, but the bulk of the snow will be out of here. It won't be falling. So that's that. Larry, do you think this is happening because Patrick Kane was traded to New York? Absolutely, Larry. And I mean it. I can't believe it was traded. It was nice what they did to honor him today with his number. I saw some tweets coming out of Chicago for sure, though. Let's say, Danielle's got a birthday coming up. Let's see. Honor Coleman's joining us on our YouTube channel. Honor, thank you very much. I appreciate that. McLean County starting point of accumulating snow, like Euro says. That's interesting for you, Honor, in terms of that. I think it's going to be pretty similar to that. I don't think you're going to see nearly as much snow over in McLean County, though, as we're talking in Northwest Indiana. Again, this model is the one that really blows up the snowfall totals here. But, I don't think you're going to see as much snow over there. I really don't. You're going to have a lot of wind. As we look at the model here, you can see how it kind of, the Euro is the one that's pointing all the snow over there. I think you're going to stay rain for a little bit longer over there, Honor. You'll still end up with snow, but I just don't think it'll be the high amounts that the Euro is saying. Okay. A lot of people trading birthdays on here. That's good. Teresa, right now I think a good 48 inches, but we need to. I want you to rewatch the beginning of this if you can, because it's really up in the air when we change over and who changes over first. It's going to start as rain, and we're going to be waiting on that temperature to drop. Every hour or every minute that goes by, I would say after noon, that we are not wet snow, that's going to cut back on our snowfall totals. All right. And again, we went over the modeling earlier. There's still some computer model guidance, which meteorologists use to form a forecast. They put a lot of work into these algorithms, so we might as well use them. We use them for everything else. But there's still some models that have very little snow on us because they keep it rain for longer. So just keep that in mind. Okay. Let's see. I'm trying to find questions here. Some schools already called off. TA, thanks for that update. Yeah, I would imagine at this point. Let's see. BKY or BCY says, I prefer watching this because you have time to explain the why behind the weather. I know TV weathermen don't have the airtime. Yeah. And I am a TV weather guy. And you're right. I don't have the time on air. Although I get pretty good time. I don't get Tom Skilling time, but it is pretty good. Don Z, Don, I always appreciate your comments. You have a great forecast. WGN has been a yo-yo with theirs all day. I think that's the fun part is, again, I'm just going to put it out there, but I want to be completely honest. And I don't think you hear this from a lot of TV folks. I'm going to be completely honest. And I told you earlier, the margin for error with this one's huge. And my fear as a meteorologist, we end up with no snow out of this. And then everyone gets real snarky. So I like to come out in advance and just say, this one's really tricky and there's a large margin for error. But I do like watching, and I don't know if it's, now that I'm getting older, I don't know if it's watching the younger meteorologists. I don't want to ever see anyone fail, right? But it's interesting to watch kind of how different people handle forecasts in terms of meteorology. I do think, and I don't have anyone specifically called out, but I do think there's a lot of egos. I know there's a lot of egos at some news stations. We don't have any here, which is awesome. But some of the people at other stations that are, kind of into themselves, which I'm not at all. I just want you to know that. And I hope you can tell that through how we've gotten to talk over the years. But it's interesting watching some of them. If a forecast is really off or something like that, it's kind of fun to watch other people squirm sometimes. I don't know. And WGN's great, but yeah, they're flopping all over the place because the forecast has been flopping. And it's hard to make a decision on this. Let's see. Have we become so Tom says, have we become so soft that we panic about 4 inches of snow? Tom, no one's panicking. And that is a very popular comment I get during these. Everyone's like, go get the bread and the milk and all that stuff. There's no panic here whatsoever. This is going to be something we can handle, but it could get a little impactful tomorrow afternoon. I hope you hear that messaging from me. All right. This is not an emergency. And by the way, tomorrow night, this is all going to be out of here. So keep that in mind. Okay. Things are going to improve pretty quickly. Melissa, you're welcome. Christopher saying e-learning days. I know. Oh, these e-learning days, man, I just wish they had snow days still. Jeanette, in terms of rain, I mean, we're going to get some good amounts of rain before it changes over to snow. I do think there's going to be some minor flooding from this. That's a really good question. In terms of amounts of rain, I mean, this is going to be mixed in with the liquid here, so you're not going to get a true read. But we're talking anywhere from an inch to 2 inches of liquid equivalent. So whether that comes from snow or rain, depends on where you line up here on the map. But, there are flood watches from Indiana, Ohio, all the way back down towards Arkansas. There's a lot of rain from the storm system. And I mean, if we zoom on out here, let me show you kind of the bigger picture. Look at all this rain that's going to happen tonight. This is the moisture that we have coming in. So, I mean, we're talking heavy rain, heavy snow. That's why we've got, really high precip totals and really high precip rates that'll be coming out of this. So that's that. Okay. All right, Shar, thank you very much. Courtney's asking for a recap. I can do that because I think we'll be on our way out here. I think most everyone's asked their questions. Yeah, Russ, great question. Everything's going to melt off this weekend. I think by Saturday, we're going to melt a good deal of this away, assuming we get a lot, okay? So let me give you a quick recap on this again, and then we'll let you be tonight because I know you've got other things to do. Let's go back to this so I can kind of explain it through a map form instead of just verbally. Here comes our storm system. And it's going to start as rain everywhere tomorrow morning, okay? Morning rush hour looks just fine. As we get into the 9, what did I have? 8, 9, 10 o'clock, Newton and Jasper County will start to see some rain. 9, 10, 11 o'clock, we're talking Lake, Porter, LaPorte County. So, we're going to be into the morning and the rain will be moving in, and it's rain to start, okay? There's a very complex process that's going to be taking place while that rain starts to fall because we've got some dry air up above us and we also have a low pressure that's pulling cold air in. So our temperature is going to be above freezing tomorrow morning. We're probably going to start, my guess is 35, 36 degrees, all right, while it's raining. At that same time, the process that's going to be taking place is called evaporative cooling. Essentially, as the rain's falling into a layer of dry air way up above us in the clouds, because remember, we have to forecast from here to the clouds, that will start to cool the atmosphere down. Cold air is heavy and dense, so as that cold air continues to sink down, our surface temperatures are going to start to come down tomorrow as well. Okay, so we'll start 35, 36. As you notice it's raining outside, you'll probably see the temperature drop 35, 34, 33. At that point, we'll start to mix some wet snowflakes in with the rain. Okay, it's not going to be pretty and it's not going to be everywhere at the same time. That's the problem in this forecast, is that it's not going to be the same for everybody. But what's going to happen is eventually those wet snowflakes are going to win out as our atmosphere continues to cool, and we'll eventually change that rain over to wet snow. And that wet snow, as with the rain, is going to be heavy. There's just so much moisture coming in with this that wet snow, where it changes over and where it stays, is going to add up quickly. It's going to be very heavy. It's going to stick to things. Everything's going to look snowy white, and it's going to cause problems on roadways, regardless of the fact the temperature is going to be above freezing, probably for the duration of the event. The big question right now is the fact that, did they just issue the warnings? I've been getting bumps on my watch. Yes, they have been. Okay, very good. Good for them. Let's just go there real quick. Here we go. Well, I still see the watch. Did they just issue the warning? I didn't see that on there. And regardless, nothing changes with our forecast, right? Let's see what we've got. Event canceled, winter storm watches, winter weather advisories. Okay, new event winter storm warnings. Yes, so they haven't updated this map yet. So the Weather Service, here's what happened behind the scenes. The Weather Service came in. They've got their evening crew on there right now, and they had to make a decision at some point. Look at this, you guys. Same forecast we just gave. Remember all these snowfall totals we're looking at? Weather Service is saying 4 to 8 inches with possibly higher amounts, which we could totally see, and winds will be over 45. So there's a winter storm warning starting at 1 p.m. That goes during our changeover. Remember, we said it would mix with wet snow starting between noon and 2. So the Weather Service is starting it at 1 o'clock for Newton County. That includes like Fowler and Oxford. They're saying 4 to 8 inches down there. We're going, let's see, Lake Porter, Newton, Jasper counties under a winter storm warning from noon until 10 tomorrow. They are also going 4 to 8 inches. Boy, I like that. That makes me very happy that I'm not the outlier in that in terms of the 4 to 8. Again, I would probably go 2 to 8 just in case. Here are some of the things, and we talked about this, but they're highlighting it as well. The fact that the snow, we're going to have a lot of precip coming down, right? They're calling for, and I totally agree with this, the potential's there for 2 to 3 inches of snow an hour. Okay. Crafty Julie, I like this. She said, Matt, the Weather Service totally watched your forecast and took notes. It is interesting that I made my snowfall forecast and then we got the warnings with all the writing, but that's okay. Just a real quick note about this before we get back into it real quick. The National Weather Service in Chicago, they are among some of the best. You have some of the best forecasters there. When I was at Lakeshore Public Television in Maryville as their chief meteorologist, we would work with the Weather Service. I'd go to the meetings with them and all that stuff. They are a tremendous group of people there, and I mean that. And that's not to put any other weather services under the bus, but there are good forecasters at Weather Service, and there are okay forecasters, and there are good communicators, and there are okay communicators. We have one of the best weather services in Chicago, so you are in very good hands. So whenever you see watches or warnings or anything like that, just know there are some very good forecasters behind that, and there's always a reason behind that stuff as well. Okay, so just keep that in mind. Okay, so back to this. Snowfall tomorrow, the rates are going to be intense, right? Where we change over, we're talking not just an inch an hour. An inch an hour of snow is a lot, and that causes impacts. When we're talking 2 to 3 inches an hour, or the potential for that, you guys, that's close to whiteout conditions. That causes huge problems in a hurry. And again, that's the concern tomorrow. Just because we're under warnings now doesn't mean that, anything changes forecast wise. It all still kind of stays the same. Okay. Allison, I like that. That's funny. Yeah. I appreciate all your comments on here. I see them coming, and I see what you guys are saying for sure. Eileen asked a great question. I don't want this to get lost in translation. Laporte looks the same as everyone else. I really think, and Autumn's asking, what about Jasper? Everyone's asking about their community, and I appreciate that. Guys, we're all together in this tomorrow. I think everyone's going to see the same conditions. This isn't a storm system that's going to produce the wide range across the area where we get, all rain in our southern communities, ice in between, stuff like that. We're all together on this with the same thing. And I think that 4 to 8 inch range is good. I like having the confirmation from the Weather Service in terms of what they're looking at. We're all looking at the same thing. We just have to come up with a forecast. But I think that's good. And let me give you worst case scenario, best case scenario tomorrow. Okay. Let's say you love snow, and we'll give you worst case and best case scenario. Okay, if you love snow, best case scenario is that rain that starts changes over to snow 11, noon, 1, and you're all snow, all right? And the deformation band forms right over us, which is expected, which means we just crank out some real heavy snow, okay? Best case scenario is we get under 1, 2, 3 inches per hour. This is for the snow lovers. That we get under that for 4, 5, 6 hours. Okay. If that happens, we're talking a foot of snow tomorrow. Okay. If we change over early, we keep the band on us and it just snows like crazy for 6 to 7 hours. That's how we get our 12 to 15. Okay. Worst case scenario, if you're a snow lover, is that we stay rain for most of the day, that we get a chunk of dry air in here where the radar goes dry for an hour or two, and that we get a little bit of snow on the end. Worst case scenario is we get a half an inch of snow. And again, the gem is still showing that. Okay. Where I think we fall, and again, this goes with my forecasting, and it looks like the Weather Service is somewhere in between where, we have rain. It starts to kind of messily change over between noon and 2. By 2 o'clock, we're talking mainly all wet snow across the region. Is everyone seeing heavy snow at 2 o'clock? I don't think so. I think we'll have a band where some communities are saying heavy snow, others are seeing light. Some still may have a little bit of rain left over. And then into that afternoon, we all change over to snow as the cold air wins out. Okay. So that's that. It's cute. Mike Kaplan's been blowing this off all week, including today. Well, you listen, Mike's a forecaster as well, right? He's got so much experience, and I like Mike. I really do. He could be leaning towards the gem, and no one is right until this thing's over with, right? So I could be way off right now, and the Weather Service could be way off right now. But Brent, I got your question or your comment, Brent. He's like, half an inch is not the worst case; it's the best case. But there's that. But anyway, yeah, we'll see what happens with this. So I hope that helps, guys. Again, wind, heavy snowfall rates are certainly possible, and we'll have, the rain changing over to snow in the morning. It's all out of here by tomorrow night. If you have plans tomorrow night, I think it's going to be sloppy outside. So Friday evening plans, probably best to read a book or stay inside, Netflix it up, whatever it happens to be. By Saturday, we'll have improving conditions throughout the day. I mean, we'll probably be up near 40 degrees. We might hold in the 30s just because we'll have snowpack. And by Sunday, this is all going to melt off. And then next week we have that pattern change, and we'll talk more about that in our Sunday evening Region Weather Live. Okay. All right, guys. I think that's it in terms of your questions. As always, I appreciate your support. Amanda, I just want to get this comment in there real quick. She says, welcome to Northwest Indiana. You get tornado warning one day, winter storm warning all in 1 week. Unbelievable. It really is. Unbelievable. Anyway, so I appreciate you guys' support. I really do. It means the world to me that you even take time out of your schedule on an evening to tune into this broadcast. Again, I do this for you. I hope that you got something out of this, that you have a better understanding, not just of the forecast tomorrow, but of how things work and kind of what we're watching for tomorrow. I think it'll be neat for a lot of us to see that rain and understand that we're cooling the atmosphere from up above. I hope you think of that when you see the rain falling in the morning. When we end up with no snow from this, I pray that you don't think about me, that you think about other folks that are, I'm just kidding. But anyway, it really means a lot to me that you take time out of your schedule for this. So thank you very much. All right, guys, we'll be back with you again. We'll do this again tomorrow. We'll talk a recap, and kind of, what's happening tomorrow evening. Again, most of this is going to be happening during the day, into the afternoon. So, there's that. Don't forget to catch us on our radio stations around Northwest Indiana as well. We've got our forecast tomorrow morning. We'll be doing chatbacks with them, and right here on Region Weather and regionweather.com. Okay. Have a good night, everybody. We'll talk to you soon. And one more thing, if you really want snow tomorrow, make sure you flush ice cubes down the toilet. Apparently that's something that works. So not too many, though. It'll clog the toilet. And then you can call Tiger Plumbing. All right. See you guys.